In every dysfunctional family, someone has to be the bad guy. There's no trial, no vote. You're just appointed. If that's you, this song was written for you. Burn Me at the Altar, the story behind the song. I want to talk about something that took me most of my life to name. In my family, I was the scapegoat. Not because I earned it, not because I was the loudest or the most broken, but because dysfunctional families need a pressure valve. They need somewhere to direct the shame, the anger, the pain that nobody wants to look at directly. And I was it. Maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. You could feel it, the way the energy shifted when you walked into a room, the way your name came up when something went wrong, the way you were somehow always the problem. Psychologists call this the scapegoat child. In family systems, one member gets appointed to carry the collective shame. I'm an INFJ. And what I've come to understand is that INFJs often end up in this role because we see things clearly. We name things out loud. We can't pretend. And in a family that needs everyone to pretend, that makes you dangerous. The truth teller becomes the threat. Here's what it looks like in practice. The house is burning, but you didn't strike the match. You didn't feed the flame. You were just the one standing there, seeing it clearly, when everyone else needed someone to blame. So they handed you the torch. You spend years, decades, trying to prove you didn't. Trying to be good enough, quiet enough. You renovate yourself trying to fit a shape they'll accept. But the thing about being a scapegoat is, it's not about what you did. It's about what they need. And what they need is for you to keep being the villain. Because if you're not the villain, they have to look at themselves. I carried that weight for a long time. Somewhere in my late 50s, I finally had to face it. This pattern, this blueprint, this altar they'd built and put my name on. I had to write about it. Burn Me at the Altar didn't come from nowhere. It came from a specific moment of reckoning, when I realized that the same dynamic I'd grown up with had followed me. Found me again in my late 50s. I had 15 years of a healthy relationship once. I thought I'd escaped the pattern. I thought insight had done the work. But insight alone doesn't always break old blueprints. Sometimes you have to live through the pain again, in a new body, a new context, before you finally see it clearly. And what I saw was this. I had spent my whole life being cast as the monster in other people's stories, and I had believed them. Partly, the line that started the whole song was this: who crowned me the monster? Because that's the real question, isn't it? Who decided? Who wrote my name in blood? Not me. So I wrote a song about the fire. And I decided, if they're gonna burn me at the altar, I'm walking out of the flames. Let me walk you through some of the lines, because each one came from somewhere real. Let's start with the match and the flame. That was the hardest thing to claim. When you've been told you're the cause long enough, you start to doubt yourself. Writing those words was an act of resistance. This is what scapegoats become, the cautionary tale, the thing the family points to. You become a character in their narrative, stripped of your own. Some of us came into families already marked, before we could speak, before we could choose. This line is about that inheritance, the weight of a blueprint you didn't draw. And then the bridge, the rawest part. I'm done carrying your sin from gate to gate. That's the moment the scapegoat finally puts down the weight, stops apologizing. The question in the song is, scapegoat or the devil? And the answer, the one I arrived at, is neither. I'm neither. I'm the void. The person who gets scapegoated isn't just a victim. They become the mirror, the thing the family can't look at because it reflects something true. When you finally walk away from a system like that, you're refusing to be the altar they burn their shame on. And that refusal is terrifying to the system. I got on my bike after I wrote this song. I rode for a couple of hours. Not to escape. I've learned you can't outride the past, but to process. to let the motion do what stillness can't. There's something about the road that gives you perspective. It doesn't lie to you. It doesn't need a villain. It just moves forward. And slowly, I understood. I'm not the monster. I'm not the devil. I'm the one who finally stopped feeding the altar. I'm just me. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself, the scapegoating, the blame, the shame, I want to say something directly to you. You are not the cause. You are not the problem. You are the pressure valve in a system that needed one. And the fact that you are here, trying to understand your story, that's the hardest kind of strength there is. The healing doesn't come from proving them wrong. It comes from knowing, in your own bones, that you didn't strike the match. Mostly, it's about reclamation. Walking out of the fire. I'm 59 years old. I've spent most of my life being the problem in rooms that needed one. And somewhere on the long road between who I was and who I'm becoming, I wrote this song. I hope it says something to you too. If this connected, I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Not because misery loves company, but because naming these things out loud is part of the healing. Link is in the description. Subscribe if that's a road you want to walk with me. I'm Greg Cox. I write songs about the things most people are afraid to say. I'll see you on the next one.